the United Nations team that is investigating alleged chemical weapons use attacks that may have taken place during the conflict in Syria is expected to return today. This is basically a resumption of the mission that they had started back in August. If you recall, the UN team arrived on August 18th, within a few days of the start of their mission. Within their arrival in Damascus, there was that attack, that chemical attack that we saw happen in Al-Ghouta in Damascus, and that basically took over their mission. Instead of investigating previous attacks that they had come to the country to look into, they were diverted to look into that mission, and within a few days they had to leave the country because it looked like a U.S. strike was imminent at this point. So now they are coming back into the country to resume that mission that they had started in August and to look into these alleged attacks. The most notorious of them, the Khan al-Assal attack that took place allegedly in March. That is in the northern part of the country near the city of Aleppo. They're expected to be looking into that attack. Now, the mission scope, it is exactly what it was back in August. They are not there to blame anyone or they're there to ascertain the facts of whether chemical weapons were used, because both the Syrian government and the opposition have blamed each other for these attacks. Now, of course, there are challenges, great challenges for this mission. Now, if we start and look at the fact that they will be looking into that attack in Khan al-Assal that took place more than 6 months ago, there are questions about how much physical or forensic evidence they really will be able to find in a visit to Khan al-Assal. Now, there's also the security challenge. The situation in Syria, obviously a very violent war zone, as we saw yesterday in the capital, Damascus. A car bomb exploded there. According to opposition sources, at least 7 people were killed in that attack and 15 others were wounded. That's even in Damascus. That is considered, parts of Damascus that are considered relatively safer than other parts of the country. And if we look at this UN investigating team, when they were in the country last month, mortar shells landed close to their hotel in Damascus. Their convoy, when they were en route to Ghouta to investigate that attack, it came under fire, and at that point they had to turn back, change a vehicle that was hit. So, of course, many challenges ahead for this team as it is expected to arrive in Damascus today.
Indeed, yes, security is a major issue, a major concern too. But as world leaders are meeting in New York, and Syria, of course, high on the agenda, we've heard from leaders talking about a political and diplomatic resolution of the war in Syria based on the current events. On the ground, though, how likely is it that we would see opposition and the regime sitting at the negotiating table? I mean, in reality.
That is the big question, Rosemary. Of course, no one denies at this point, it is clear that this war cannot be solved militarily. It has to be, as we heard from the different sides in this conflict, the different countries that believe that this needs to be resolved politically and diplomatically. The question is, who is going to be sitting at that negotiating table? Of course, the Western-backed opposition is represented by the Syrian National Council and other opposition groups that, we're seeing more and more comments coming out of Syria from rebel factions that don't believe that this council represents them. And even more dangerously, we're seeing splits within the rebel ranks. We are seeing the Islamist groups in Syria versus the Free Syrian Army turning their guns on each other. Over the past week, we have seen fighting taking place between these rebel factions in parts of the country like the north, close to the Turkish border, like that town of Azaz, where fighters that are aligned, their group, the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, that is aligned with Al-Qaeda, basically took over the town and kicked out the Free Syrian Army there. Now, this same group, we're hearing more and more worrying statements coming out from these groups that are have number of foreign fighters from places like Iraq and North Africa among their ranks. They have put out a statement just yesterday saying that the Syrian National Coalition is secular scum and that does not represent the Syrian revolution or the Syrian people. So, of course, a lot of concerns about how representative the Syrian opposition backed by the West really is of the fighting groups.